Welcome to Strangeville. Welcome to the channel, gang. My name is K to the STRANGE, and I am back with you for another video. I'm a 20-year veteran of the underground, cartoonist, novelist, independent filmmaker, and I am here today to share my love of comic books with you all at home. Today, we're going to take a look at famous cartoonist, author, and artist of the world-wide sensation, Scott Pilgrim. We're going to take a look at Bryan Lee O'Malley's first graphic novel, the depressed emo girl lost at sea graphic novel. We're going to take a look at the origins, the beginnings, the machinations of what would later become the smash hit Scott Pilgrim series. Man, I haven't made videos in a minute, gang. I had a pretty bad sinus infection last week, and I wasn't going to get on here and be all nasally and gross with you. So I took a week off, and we were running out of videos in the members only section. For only $2.99, you get access to all future videos that haven't been released to the public yet. It's weeks, sometimes months in advance, or in the case of as of the recording of this video, a couple of days in advance. I got to catch up. I'm going to spend all day today making videos for you guys, and this is my first video in a minute. So no end papers on Bryan Lee O'Malley's Lost at Sea. So here's the deal. Lost at. See how precious he is. This is a young cartoonist. Just he thinks he's got to make an art book here. It's pretty funny. It's not a funny book at all. It's funny that he made such cringy emo stuff before he finally figured out how to have fun and make funny comic books. Lost at Sea, Bryan Lee O'Malley. Love it. The desert landscape of California right there is what we've got. So, a little bit of backstory before we get into this. I recorded, if you guys are, real hardcore channel viewers, then you know that I've been slowly dropping a series of videos I recorded with my good buddy Johnny, the editor of all of my movies that you can watch at the Patreon link in the description. We recorded a bunch of videos together. One of those videos was him introducing me to Scott Pilgrim Volume 1. And it was a great video, and I didn't know anything about Scott Pilgrim, and he was introducing me to the art and the story for the very first time. I've never seen the movie or anything. And somehow that video, of all the videos we recorded that day, that video didn't record with sound. Complete garbage. Unusable. So I had to scrap that video, and Johnny went back to Chicago where he lives. I don't know if I mentioned that already. But so we're going to have to record another Scott Pilgrim video. But in the interim, I kept thinking about this book. I kept thinking about the cool art and the funny story. And I looked into I looked into picking up the Scott Pilgrim books for myself, see if they were cheap enough, and I was able to get these. I've got the first 3 volumes right now, with the 4th and the 5th on the way, and then I'll pick up the 6th one. I was able to get these for like $5-6 used on Amazon. So I'm slowly working my way through the series. I've read through the first 3 volumes now. I love it. It's great. And I did a little more research on Bryan Lee O'Malley and found out that he did this graphic novel Lost at Sea before he did Scott Pilgrim. So I decided, well, if I can't, I don't want to step on Johnny's toes and do another Scott Pilgrim video without him. So we're gonna re-record our Scott Pilgrim video, which will be much more all-encompassing after I'll have already read the series, and when I finish the series, I'm gonna watch the movie, blah blah blah. So I'll have some knowledge on the subject. So the next time me and Johnny sit down to record the Scott Pilgrim stuff, it'll be a much more robust episode than it was with me just being like, oh, that's pretty cool looking. But as a compromise, I decided that I would pick up his book Lost at Sea, which from all accounts is a really full of itself emo girl artsy fartsy graphic novels. Trying to do too much. He's trying to do too much here. He's trying to come off like some kind of tortured artist, and it's kind of corny. I like it. I like the book, but and you can see the rudiment. You can see the where the Scott Pilgrim style would come from, but he just doesn't. I like that it's cutesy and anime style from the beginning, even though this isn't a cute book at all. This is trying to be a depressed emo girl book. I like that he still designed it in a cutesy way. We're going to get into it. We're going to get all into it here in a minute. But first, we have to talk about the lifeblood of the channel. We recently got a hater comment from a guy named Sam Hatter, who I told I was going to do a shout out to because he sent me a comment that said, "Quit rambling about your Patreon. Nobody cares." And of course, we love our patrons here in Strangeville, and our patrons are our lifeblood. This is how we fund the channel. This is how we're going to pay for all the upgrades to get better cameras, better equipment, is through your support on Patreon. And I'm actually going to give back, as it were. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers here on the channel. We're like 75 subscribers away as of the recording of this video. We are so on the cusp of hitting that precious 1,000 subscriber mark and becoming a fully monetized channel with ads that will help us improve the studio. You won't hear all these cars driving to the bullet factory behind us here, and because I'll be able to create a soundproofing studio, and we'll have better cameras and better microphones and better computers, and the whole thing is just going to be awesome. But when we hit that 1,000 subscribers, I'm giving away a copy of I'm giving away the free digital version of my 164-page graphic novel, Space Worms. It's a crazy underground comics style romp. It's about a group of little wormy alien brain eater monsters who crash land and crash a teenage sex party at our boys Preston and Ethan are virgin losers, and they're gonna try to get laid at this teenage sex party that their next door neighbor Esmeralda is throwing. And then these goofy little space worms start eating everybody's brains and ruin the party. So you're gonna be able to check that out if you're into, Robert Crumb, S. Clay Wilson, Gilbert Shelton. If you're into Spain Rodriguez, then you will the old undergrounds. Then you'll be into all of the Strangeville stories. But you'll be able to read that Space Worms book for free when we get to 1,000 subscribers over on the Patreon. Now let's give a shout to, let's talk about the Patreon for a second, right? On the Patreon, you get access to 20 years of comics, novels, and feature films from the twisted mind of yours truly, Kevin Strange. That's Space Worms, Count Kefula, Death to Strangeville, Wizard of Ganj, Too Many Dabs, issues 1 and 2. It's $3 a month. You get all those comics, plus a ton more comics, plus all the novels, which I've written almost 24 novels, like 18 novels that are available there at the Patreon link. And you can watch all of my feature films that tie into the Strangeville universe. There's Cockhammer, and then there's the Cockhammer full feature-length film, and then there's Cockhammer Lives, the graphic novel. There's Dead Shit, the movie, and then there's Dead Shit, the graphic novel adaptation, and all this funness. So $3 a month, you get a ton of stuff over there, and all my newest stuff, like Count Kefula, just came out in October. It's already up there for you to read on the Patreon. $3 a month. And let's give a shout This is for you, Sam Hatter. We're going to call Sam Hater. We're going to give shouts to our true believers, our patrons, our diehards here. Savage Splendor, Dark Lord Carrion, 666 Yoshi, Alien on LSD, Joseph Stark, Loudpack Productions, Dave Baxter, Jason German, Mutant Minds, Joshua Wise, Jeremy Maddox, Nirvana, Andrew Varble, and our newest patron, Darren Oni, or Woney. Oni. I'm going to call him Oni. Darren Oni, thank you so much for being a patron. Thank you, all of you guys, for your support. And if you want to see your name on the list and get your shouts, then sign up to that Patreon link in the description. And now, let's talk about Bryan Lee O'Malley and Lost at Sea. To understand Bryan Lee O'Malley, one must understand the 90s. One must understand what the world was like in the 90s when prissy, artsy leftoids like Bryan Lee O'Malley could create individualistic work with characters that are that have individual personalities, that have their own agency, that have their own goals and opinions that wildly differ from each other without being part of the psychotic liberal hive mind that exists today thanks to social media, thanks to around I don't know what that's all about. Get that out of here. I'm trying to rant about liberals. I would say right around 2012, right around the time that everybody got Facebook on their smartphone, with the advent of smartphones and the Facebook app being ever present on everyone's smartphone and becoming ubiquitous with online culture. Because there's been an internet forever. I've been a part of the internet since, well, before my time, like the late 80s, early 90s. There were like BBS boards, and then there was mail servers, and then there was IRC chat, and then building off IRC chat was AOL, and that's when things went really crazy for the internet, was when you started getting those AOL discs in the mail at home, and people started getting home PCs, putting AOL on there, and then there were AOL chat rooms. AOL chat rooms evolved into Yahoo chat rooms. And the news groups went away, the BBS boards went away, IRC chat, it stuck around for a while. I was in IRC chat rooms till probably 2000, 99, 2000. But that started to fucking melt away. The news groups melted away. The boards melted away. And Yahoo message boards, Yahoo chat rooms became a staple of the internet. From Yahoo chat rooms came MSN Messenger, and everybody started talking to each other through the different messenger apps on their computers. And then the beginning of social media really started to take root in things like LiveJournal. I had a LiveJournal till about, I would say I had a LiveJournal till about 2002, 2003 even. LiveJournal was, I think, the MySpace and LiveJournal sort of existed in tandem with each other, and from MySpace, of course, gave birth to Twitter, and then Facebook in 2009ish killed MySpace entirely. Like everyone moved from MySpace to Facebook because Facebook was on your smartphone, and sort of left that MySpace HTML technology behind, and it only took a couple of years for that activist sector of the left, of the far left, the extreme left, to start to worm its way into internet culture. And long gone were the days of like, be careful what links you click, because you might end up with something offensive. Haha, the internet's a place for offensive trolls to hang out. And then it became this like pious virtue signaling. Oh my God, Trayvon Martin, my uncle's a racist. I blocked my whole extended family from my Facebook because they don't support Obama and the Trayvon Martin fucking incident, and then there was Coney 2012. Come on, all you guys in your 40s know what I'm doing. I'm walking you through the entire history of fucking of the internet, but that gets us, as 2012 turned into 2014, and then Trump hit the scene. And by the time Trump hit the scene in 2016, the entire leftist side of social media were in lockstep. We had gone through Occupy Wall Street. We had seen them work their way in and say it's BIPOC, female, and gay speakers, get their voices amplified and heard first, and all whites to the back. And the leftist, whites would be like, hell yeah, put me in the back of the bus. That's where I deserve to be. Generational curse. I'm generationally cursed with whiteness and all this stuff. And why is Kevin Strange ranting about all this stuff? Because you have to understand that books like Lost at Sea and books like Scott Pilgrim were created before the liberal hive mind. So you could have these guys. This guy's, I haven't looked to see, but I'm very confident that this guy is a Trump derangement syndrome suffering lefty lunatic. If I went and found his social media today, he is having the elections tomorrow. No doubt Bryan Lee O'Malley is having a meltdown, as all liberals do, in this modern social media landscape. There's only one opinion. There's only one way to tell stories, and white people aren't allowed to do it. Like these books, like imagine, gang, a book where everyone in this book is white. It's all white characters. They're all white Canadians from the 90s. Look how lily white every page is. And you used to be able to do that because that was your culture. You lived among and around white people, and you had white culture, and you told stories about white people, and everyone was different. Everyone had a personality. Everyone had their own different distinct types of music they listened to. Some of them were into anime, some of them were into horror, some of them were into this and that, and this stuff is so it doesn't exist anymore. Everyone has to be exactly the same, praying to the altar of the rules of social media. And the rules of social media dictate that for leftists you have to tell stories about gays and blacks, or other minorities, and they have to be female or trans. Those have to be, like, you can have a token whitey, sure, but the majority of the characters in your book, or in your animated series, or in your film, or in your novel, you have to put minorities, women, and gays first, and you can't tell stories like this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. I was in. Remember me, I'm Kevin Strange from the Bizarro Wars of 2016 through like 2018, and I was a very popular Bizarro novelist in the niche horror community of Bizarro fiction, and that hub, the hive mind of Bizarro fiction was Portland, Oregon, where like 90% of the city is white, and everyone in Bizarro was white except for two token black guys, and 85-90% of the writers were dudes. And so it's like 90% white dudes, but they were they were destroyed. Like the entire, like, Bizarro was completely destroyed by this type of by this woke ideology, because the publishers were forced to start putting out calls for submissions for, like, okay, BIPOC, female, gay, and trans people get to the front of the line, because that wasn't that culture. The culture was white people shit. But Bizarro was weird white people shit, and then they had to start begging for minorities and women and gays to start submitting work, and they started publishing nothing but like all this minority shit, and nobody bought it because that it was forced diversity, an overabundance of supply and zero demand. This was white people shit. I don't mean this. I'm motioning at this Bryan Lee O'Malley book. But, I mean, you could say the same thing about this. I think you could say that Scott Pilgrim, when it came out, was white people shit, and Lost at Sea was definitely emo white girl, depressed emo white girl shit. I think it applies. You can't do this anymore. That's the point of that whole rant. Is this is a time capsule that no longer exists. You are not allowed now. As you know, as a guy, it's funny because there are rules that are, and there's no consistency in leftoid rules. But one of the rules is if a man wrote a book about a depressed emo girl, he took the spot of a woman who could have written this depressed emo girl story. How dare he step in front? That's what they used to say about Ed Piskor doing Hip Hop Family Tree. People on the internet always fucking dunked on that guy because he took the spot of a black guy. A black man, a black cartoonist should have been telling the graphic novel story, history, the story of hip hop history. And they never let him live that down. To his dying day, people on the internet dunked on Ed Piskor for being a culture vulture. So, isn't it true that Bryan Lee O'Malley is a culture vulture here, stealing the lived experience of an depressed emo girl? Of course, I don't believe that. I've written gay characters in black. My newest comic book. I just finished since I was sick last week. I spent the week doing pencils on my newest book, Gigant, and this is a story of a black midget and two tweaker girls hunting for lost treasure. And there's a crazy old eccentric doctor named Doc Talver who supposedly, rumor in Strangeville is he's got a fortune buried under his cabin in the woods. So they go out there to try to rob this cabin in the woods and find his fortune, and unfortunately find Bigfoot and a cult of weirdos and aliens and all kinds of stuff. Point being that I'm doing a book about a black midget, and I have no lived experience as a black man or as a midget. So I am stealing the thunder of what a black midget could be writing this comic book instead of me. I'm a culture vulture, right? I don't care. I've written trans characters. I write novels from the perspective of women. I write comic books sometimes from the perspective of women. I don't give a shit. These are the left's rules. I believe in human imagination. I believe that anyone can write anything, regardless of lived experience, because human beings have limitless imagination. We're given the gift of imagination from the cosmos, and we should fucking use it anyway. But it's a contradiction, because while Ed Piskor gets dunked on, probably still to this day, for being a culture vulture and writing a black hip hop book, guys like the Hernandez brothers, with their Love and Rockets series, are allowed to write female characters without consequence. They've been writing these female characters for like 30 years, and eventually, over time, even turned these female characters gay. So now they're writing about gay females, and there's never been any pushback against the Hernandez brothers, probably because they're minorities. They're Latino guys in California, and if there's nothing white liberals love more than token minorities writing in their wheelhouse. So the fact that we have Latino men writing gay women, well, that's just fucking fine. That's just fucking fine. Let's just do it. Well, what about the lived experience of women? What about shouldn't a woman or a pair of women be writing the lived experience of gay women? Why did the Hernandez brothers get a pass? And I bring up the Hernandez brothers because I think that they, not art-wise, but because the art is definitely anime or manga inspired, especially, it's the same in Scott Pilgrim. These are very, Bryan Lee O'Malley, his character design doesn't change a whole lot from Lost at Sea to Scott Pilgrim. It's just that Scott Pilgrim is a lot more fun and a lot more bouncy, as Johnny likes to describe this style. And the Hernandez brothers do more of a realistic kind of style to their characters. But it's clearly there's there's fantastical elements here in Lost at Sea, but they're minimal. They're in the background, and I think that's one of the weaknesses of this book, and I'll get into that in a minute. Review starts at 25 minutes in. But especially in Scott Pilgrim, there's a normalcy that's it's like a group of kids, group of 90s kids hanging out together and just being 90s kids. And then there's these crazy fantastical and science fiction elements that pop up out of nowhere and then disappear out of nowhere, and it goes back to being this like situational dramedy. And that's the same spirit of Love and Rockets. And I assume, again, I haven't looked into this deep enough to know, but I assume one of Bryan Lee O'Malley's big influences was the Hernandez brothers and Love and Rockets, because for the first 10 years of Love and Rockets, it was dramedy, drama, comedy, situational stuff, and then crazy fantastical sci-fi things would pop up and then disappear. And they kind of dropped all that to just make it gayer and gayer and gayer over time. And I mean gay not in the sense that it's not good, gay in the homosexual sense. Like the book gets gayer and gayer as the years pass, which is whatever. Your mileage may vary on whether you want to see Latino gay women written by Latino straight men. But I just assume that this is a big influence on Bryan Lee O'Malley. So Lost at Sea is a very slow-paced book, and it's a story of this girl who hitches a ride with some strangers or girls. She or a girl and two guys that I guess she went to school with. Yeah, she went to school with them, but she didn't know them well. She wasn't in their friend group, and they just by happenstance happened to be in the same area, and were going back to Canada. They were all in California. They were going back to Canada, so she decides to hop in the car and go on a road trip with them. And so this is a road trip book that it's very slow paced. It's hundreds of pages long. No, it's like 150 pages long, and it takes forever to get going because you're sort of living in this like mysterious, mopey, depressed past of our girl here, and a lot of there's some flourishes of funny dialogue, like quirky interpersonal dialogue that would come into play in a big way in Scott Pilgrim, but a lot of it is these written out prose style thoughts in our girl's head, and she's just like slowly over time going to reveal the backstory of what she was doing in California, complaining about her parents getting divorced, her alienation from her family, and not losing her connection to her friends at school. And all along the way, she's slowly starting to, she slowly develops a friendship with the girl that's hanging out in the back seat with her, which she's probably the coolest character. The friend in the back seat is probably the coolest character in the book. So we just keep getting these flashbacks, and then we'll come back to the present, where she's in the car hanging out with the kids, and she reveals somewhere in here that she believes that she lost her soul, that she's soulless, and that's why she can't make friends. She has these dreams where there are cats everywhere in the dreams, and as the book slowly progresses, the cats appear in reality and start stalking her in reality, and she confides in the other girl in the car with her that she thinks she's crazy and that these cats aren't real, but the car girl assures her that and it's which one's Stephanie? I think Stephanie's the friend, and Riley is our girl. Riley's our blonde girl, and then the pixie-haired girl with the flower in her hair, that's Stephanie, and then we have Dave and some other guy. I don't remember what the other guy's name is. So our girl Riley and Stephanie are getting close. They keep stopping at hotels, and the boys share a bedroom, and then the girls share a bedroom, and so they start to bond and they start to open up to each other. And Riley, they start to bond by jumping on jumping on beds like they're trampolines and stuff, just doing goofy teenage girl stuff. And Riley starts to maybe make a friend after all this time of feeling alienated, and like she can't make friends, and yeah, it just goes on. And like I said, it's really it's very slow paced. I think that the big the big criticism I would give this book is that it moves along too slowly. The revelations that come about her having gone to California to hang out with a guy she met on the internet, and the little time that she spent with him before she had to go back to Canada, it is not a big deal. I mean, it is a big deal if you're a teenager and it's like your first love or whatever, the first time you kiss a guy. I don't know if she slept with him or not. She definitely alludes to kissing him, or there's actually a picture of them kissing. She maybe kind of alludes that she slept with him. That's a big deal in a girl's life. I understand that. But when we're being told a fantastical 150-page graphic novel story, you're going to spice that up a little bit. You got to give us some more drama there if you're going to hold it from us. Like, just tell us from the beginning that I'm down here to see a boy and I'm leaving and I'm sad about it. Like, that doesn't need to be some big revelation 100 pages into the book, which it is here in this. And I think this is that. I think this is, yeah. She finally reveals his name on page 56, and then she shows her kissing him in silhouette. So it's like, to me, that's not a big enough drama to like hold from the audience. But this is Bryan Lee O'Malley like working out his style. Like, he's going to go on to make one of the greatest comics of all time, I think, with Scott Pilgrim. I'm only halfway through the series, but I mean, there's been some stuff in Scott Pilgrim that is so fucking impressive to me, as far as in the medium of comics, and how he uses the medium of comics to storytell in a way that I haven't watched the movie yet, but I don't think the medium of film can capture the humor and style of a book like Scott Pilgrim. And he had to work his way through, almost 200 pages of girl emo crap to get there. And that's not, and I do like this book. I give this book a B. I give Scott Pilgrim, especially volumes 1 and 2, A pluses. Volume 3 about an A. And I don't know how the rest is going to go, but I give this a B. So if you're a Scott Pilgrim fan, you've never heard of this Lost at Sea book, I just think it's just not quite as good. It's not bad by any matter of means, especially if you're into depressed emo girl crap. Then I think you might be touched by this in a way that I wasn't. But we get, how fucking far do we get into this thing? We get most of the way through this fucking book, and now I'm going to start talking about spoilers. So if you don't want to know what happens next before you read the book, then I would say stop watching the video, buy the book on Amazon, read it, and come back and catch my thoughts on the final portion, my final portion of thoughts on the book. Because as we get further and further, Riley, now she can't sleep, but now the cats are like, she's like hallucinating the cats. The cats are appearing everywhere. She talks about the cat that lived at her dad's house, I think, when she was a kid, that might be the connection to the cats. But then she makes this like bold declaration. She goes outside. I mean, it's way deep into the book. So she goes outside at a certain point here and is like wandering around, and then Stephanie comes out. Riley is, and then Stephanie comes outside, and then Riley just dumps this idea on her that she's been, because there's a scene at a restaurant earlier in the book where there's a picture on the wall that looks like a young Riley with two little sisters, but she doesn't have little sisters. And so she dumps all this on Stephanie out here in the middle of the night, walking around this motel, that she's been here before, that her mom brought her and her little sisters here, and then sold her soul and her sister's souls to the devil, and her soul is trapped in a cat, and that her sisters are cats. Her sisters became cats, and that her soul is trapped in a cat, and That's why she's soulless. And at this point, and we're 110 pages into this book, and I'm like, whoa, that's a brilliant idea for a graphic novel. Like bringing this kind of like fantasy element into this urban fantasy element into this drama storyline. This road trip drama storyline is great. It just happens so far into the book. You know, we're more than halfway through the book before we introduce this fantastical element, and it doesn't actually pay off at all. She ends up getting the boys involved, and they all go out and they start hunting for cats. Riley believes that she can, if she stares into the cat's eyes, she'll get her soul back. And so they run around all night and they're trying to catch cats and trying to see which one has Riley's soul in it. And that's awesome. And I think that makes for a really cool, because you introduce so many of these crazy fantasy and sci-fi elements into Scott Pilgrim out of nowhere, that doing this maybe 20 pages in and then have it actually have a payoff of some sort would have really spiced this book up, I think. And instead, they just kind of give up. They look at all these cats and then kind of give up on it, and they decide that she's just crazy. And then they keep on their road trip or whatever. But that's sort of this was the weakness of this Bryan Lee O'Malley first story, is he tries to be so precious with it. The story doesn't even really have an ending. He wants to try to leave it open, and he wants to put all these maybes in there. Maybe I made friends. Maybe I found my soul because of my friendships and blah, blah, blah. And that's all good, but it's like really writerly. It's like really precious and like artsy, writery, like wannabe intellectual kind of overwriting. And he learned not to do that anymore. He learned that he needed to just write cool shit. And I think it was the poor reception of this. I think this guy really thought, because he clearly he wanted to be a fucking superstar. Clearly he wanted to be a comic book rock star, and he became one. I think he thought he was going to make it by doing fucking elevated girl emo drama with like really overwritten like precious fucking prose, which a lot of writers do. A lot of the writers that came in and out of the Bizarro community would start trying to do some fucking academic fucking bullshit like this, and then would eventually figured out that they had to do crazy shit and just have fun. And Bryan Lee O'Malley figured it out. He definitely figured out how to have fun. He definitely figured out how to make one of the coolest comic books of all time. So I don't fault him for Lost at Sea. It's a good story. It's not a great story, and it's kind of fucking full of itself. If that sounds like your kind of book, pick this motherfucker up. It'll be great. I definitely dislike the red added to the black and white. I think this book would have been better served. The art in this book would have been better served to leave it black and white. You know, Scott Pilgrim has, of course, been colorized because pop culture can't really handle black and white comics very much. The Walking Dead series, they never cucked out and colorized. Imagine Walking Dead in color; it wouldn't have the same effect that it has in black and white. And I don't think that Scott Pilgrim has in the video I did with Johnny that had no sound. We did a comparison between the black and white pages and the color pages, and I enjoy the black and white pages much more. I think they pop. I think the characters and the style pop much more in a black and white manga style than in an American colorized style. And when I get back with Johnny, we'll do that comparison again, and we'll go through the series, and it'll be a much more compelling book. But that's all I got for you, gang. If you are a writerly comic book maker and you like to write full of itself pretentious fucking comic books, then send them my way. I'll take a look at them. Kevin Strange, P.O. Box number 5, Cottage Hills, Illinois 62018. If you've got comics, if you've got Scott Pilgrims or loving rockets or Bryan, or whatever, burning up your long boxes, and you want to send them to the channel to be reviewed on here, send them my way. Kevin Strange, P.O. Box number 5, Cottage Hills, Illinois, 62018. Just like Ron Thuen did. I did enough of the. I did enough talking about that. About that satanic book that that other guy sent through. Adam. Adam, what's your name? Adam Yeager sent through. I've got it right here. I'll just pull it out. Blaspheme. I did enough talking about Blaspheme and talking about how much I liked the Ron Thuen art in the book that I manifested. Ron Thuen himself sending along his Billigaff. Is that an F? Yeah, Dilligaff. I don't know what Dilligaff stands for. I don't know if I'm supposed to know what Dilligaff stands for. But Ron sent through his own mini comics, his Dilligaff comics, and he was kind enough to send these through. We're going to do an episode on his rad comics. Look at this style. He is great. Another black and white guy that just kills it, man. Hey, come on, gang. Ain't nothing like black and white comics. These are great. These are two little, it's like an anthology short story collection series with 2 or 3 stories. I think 2 each. 2 stories in his in each of his collections here. They're good. I like them. I like the art. Look at that dude. Love it. He draws great monsters. Woo! Killer style. If you got a killer style and you write gnarly black and white comics, send them my way. Kevin Strange, P.O. Box number 5, Cottage Hills, Illinois, 62018. Gang, I'm going to catch you in the next video. Remember to stay strange.